The ancient Greeks once said, "A society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in." We tend to forget about this, tend to be careless, but we have to rise to the task together. It's up to all of us to sow those seeds, and it's up to us to nurture them towards growth. Creo is not just another company. With Project Resolve, we are building the path to the future. Follow us into a new era, a utopia for all mankind. With every launch, we're healing our planet, restoring its natural shield. A return to the green world we remember, where our children can once more play in the sun. Resolve is not only revitalizing the Earth, but its people too. We've all dreamed of it, and now Creo is making it a reality. Together, we're strong. Together, we can make a change. Unleash your potential with us.
The Surge was released on May 16th in 2017 for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. The Surge was developed by Deck 13 Interactive, which is also responsible for Transocean, Ankh, I actually don't know how to pronounce that, A-N-K-H, Ankh, and Lords of the Fallen. The Surge was published by Focus Home Interactive, which is known for Blood Bowl, Bound by Flame, Call of Cthulhu, the original video game, the official video game, and Farming Simulator 2013, 15, and 17. The footage was captured on the PlayStation 4 Pro using an Elgato. However, I can say that the footage captured is the same as my experience, 60 frames and all. The game begins with a simple and yet effective introduction. A man is sat on a train, calm and expressionless, while watching an introduction video to the Creo company. When the video finally welcomes you to Creo, we realize that the man is jobless and he's here for work. The doors open and he rotates with an awkward stiffness. When he emerges from his seat, he reveals his wheelchair and he rolls himself to a room where he's given a choice between exosuits. After his choice, he lays upright on the operating table and the automated arms around him get to work. First they spray him with the general anesthetic. Whether it's not strong enough or not given enough time to go into effect, it doesn't really matter because the arms get to work immediately and they start drilling into his body. His yelling gets louder and louder until they drill into the back of his head, where he gives one last yell before going into shock and passing out. When he wakes up, everything around him is in ruins. Looking for answers, he goes to a nearby ops center and has a chat with another survivor. It doesn't matter what the hell happened. All that matters is that you get out. Welcome to Creo, and have a hell of a first day.
Rig installation program running. Program complete. Patient sedated. Initiating surgery. Implanting neural link.
Alright, so the story of The Surge is weak. The introduction sequence serves to get you into the game rather than set up a compelling narrative. What happened in those moments between you getting your exosuit and waking up with a face full of dirt? Doesn't really matter. The entire game is just getting out of Creo and playing delivery boy here and there. There are audio logs throughout the game that give a fraction of insight into the overall story, but from my experience, most of them are just voice recordings of during the fall of Creo. You also encounter friendly humans throughout, but they only serve as side mission givers. There's no real substance to any of them. From what I got, I believe it was a hack or an error that caused everyone to go hostile, which makes sense because with every exosuit, a chip is installed into the user's brain, and all that tech is connected to Creo. So yeah, if that tech is messed with, I can see why your human enemies have gone insane. But what caused that? What happened during the fall of Creos? How long did this all take? It's all pretty unclear. If you're the type to ask questions, just a heads up, the Surge narrative is far from bulletproof. However, it is redeemed by the mere fact that this game isn't about story, it's about gameplay. The audio part is decent, the music is good, especially during the boss fights. There is a song that plays whenever you get to Ops or your safe room, and it's a very folksy country song kind of thing, and I really dig it.
Hello. Be careful out
Forget
there.
your help out there. You saved my ass.
You met Davy?
Oh yeah. Can't say I care for him much. Wanted me to fetch him his meds. Of course I said no. Man, was he pissed. He's crazier than I thought if he thinks I'm going out there again. Look after yourself, man.
I looked up the music for this game to help me write the review and to just use for the video, and there is surprisingly very little love for this song. I mean, it's just based off the YouTube comments, which I know is the worst place to, really get an opinion, but what seems to be the deal is that a lot of people liked it at first, but then they hated it and wish there was more music or could turn it off. It's not a number one hit. I'm telling you that right now. And yeah, if I could add more music, I'd probably go for it. But that doesn't diminish how much I liked it. Because of the genre and nature of the gameplay, the game can get pretty stressful. And so coming back to this really calm folk song, it makes that area feel way more safe. You hear that song when you're in there and you're busy upgrading and creating parts. You feel a little better. It's almost like the song version of the phrase, calm before the storm. Plus, if you're playing the game correctly, you're never in there for more than a few minutes, and you have to be more focused on your upgrades than on the song. The voice acting is half decent, with your character being like the worst of the bunch. By no means is it ever terrible, but rather it's like everyone is holding back with their emotions. None of them sound like they're just reading a script, but there's also little nuances in the delivery that keeps them from doing just that, if that makes any sense. It's very much in between just pure shit and getting to good. Your character is a monotone action man. Think of Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone back in the 80s. Except that your main character actually speaks English, naturally. The delivery is there, but it won't ever win an award. That's probably the best comparison I can make. The sound effects of the gameplay is great too, but that was necessary for a game like this. Timing is an important aspect of the gameplay, and that timing needs great audio. You need to hear for something carefully sometimes to decide what your next action is. Luckily, the game does not fail on that front. Visually, the game is astounding. On the PS4 Pro, the game runs at a smooth 60 frames per second, making the gameplay even smoother. The details aren't as great as Uncharted 4 or Yakuza 0, where you can see every little detail and everything, but they're just a notch below. More time and money, and I bet this game could have definitely achieved that level of detail. I know that's a bit of a cop-out, because you can say that for literally any game, but whatever. The level designs are pretty cool too. Most of the games take place inside Creo, so expect a lot of machinery and levels taking place on factory lines and the like. But it's not all completely machine-based. You'll eventually get to areas that made Creo famous, like greenhouses, where nature is being replicated via machine, and eventually even the game transforms, going from mechanical ruins to shiny blood-splattered lobbies. Because of the gameplay nature, when you die, you respawn at the Ops Center, potentially losing all the scrap you've picked up. By exploring the levels, you are rewarded, and not just by the obvious upgrades, but by finding shortcuts back to Ops. Whenever you start a level, it's just going down a specific path, and the stress of staying alive is mental. But once you find shortcuts, the game becomes easier, and you can totally skip entire parts of an area that at first you were forced to endure and repeat. The game does need to load between areas, but the loading is relatively quick. To continue with my ongoing dislike for Prey's loading times, I must say that these areas are bigger than Prey's, and there's a lot more going on than in Prey. And compared to Prey, the loading times are super short. The gameplay is where this game is the best. It's difficult to compete in the Dark Souls genre when the genre is named after the game that essentially made the genre. Dark Souls may not have been the first, but it is the game that made the genre world-renowned. In fact, this game is also just constantly labeled as a Dark Souls clone. As accurate as it may be, it's almost unfair because being a clone of something is almost never a compliment. Sure, the game is a Dark Souls clone because no one really has a name for what the Dark Souls genre is exactly, but that doesn't mean this game is just copy and paste. The Surge took the bare bones of Dark Souls DNA and essentially made its own beast. Whereas Dark Souls and Bloodborne look like giant Halloween towns, the Surge has its own world and its own story to tell. The game is still challenging, but I found it extremely fair. And here's the thing. Before the Surge, anything Dark Souls-like, I hated. I tried Demon Souls, and I didn't see what made it likable. Then I played Bloodborne, and I hated it. Within minutes, I was killed. Then I made it to the first boss, and I spent 30 minutes alone just dying, coming back, dying, coming back, dying, coming back, etc. And I remember after like I said, 30 minutes, I put my controller down and I thought to myself, in all the time I'm spending, being ass in these games, I could be playing a game that actually has a kick-ass story, and I could actually be progressing. And believe me, I knew I was awful at it. My brother had beaten it twice in a row before I even started playing Bloodborne. So, already knowing I wasn't fond of this type of game, I still went ahead and tried it because the concept of being in an exosuit really called to me. If your game has any sort of exosuits or mechas, I am more or less pretty much sold. It's what made me love It's what made me love Advanced Warfare so much when I first got it, because I was in an exosuit. Anyways, that alone makes it stand out from Dark Souls the way Neo stands out from Dark Souls. I haven't played Neo, but I can easily say in a game where you fight in an exosuit and a game where you fight as a white samurai are pretty different from whatever Cthulhu world Dark Souls is set in. And the game takes advantage of the exosuit idea. You dodge faster than your average human, and you can feel the dodge. When you hear the kzzz of the suit, a successful dodge is way more satisfying than just a regular roll. The enemies are satisfying to kill too, in that they'll annihilate you if you're being totally careless. But otherwise, they're fair in a fight. Enemies have to be dodged, countered, and targeted to be defeated. No enemy is impossible to defeat. Each area brings a different kind of enemy, which keeps the fighting fresh too. And there's enough enemies in each area so that it's enough for you to be proficient in fighting that specific enemy by the end of the level, but not so many where you just get absolutely sick of them. Something else that puts this apart from being just tossed to the side as a clone is that in this game you can target specific body parts and limbs. If you target a part that has no armor, the enemy is easier to kill. If you target a part that has armor though, the enemy may be harder to kill, but it will also mean you have a chance to cut it off and take that armor. Taking armor means you can use it to either build an armor if you liked it, or those parts can be used to build other armor you've encountered, or even upgrade the armor you have. And everything can be upgraded. Everything starts out as Mark 1 and it can be upgraded to Mark 5. Upgrades differ for everything. Some will make you even faster and others will make you even stronger. However, for every upgrade, you need specific parts. For Mark 1 upgrades, you need Mark 1 parts. Mark 2 needs Mark 2 parts, so on and so forth. To ensure that you don't just stick in the first area and just farm your way to glory, each area you progress to will have better parts, and it works as your incentive to getting stronger. So even if you max yourself out by playing and farming parts in the first area, you won't get the Mark II parts until you progress to the next stage. With different enemies and the chance to upgrade your loadout, the game is definitely worth progressing. The game features only 5 bosses, to my dismay, but I really liked fighting in these big arenas against these giant machines and super strong opponents, but then again, 5 is almost a sweet spot of number of bosses, because it was enough to surprise you between level segments, but not enough for you to just be like, oh god, another boss fight. As you progress, you gather tech scrap, which is gained by killing enemies. There's a whole system for these little scraps you pick up. If you go to Ops, which is this safe area where you do crafting and you're upgrading, you can deposit your scraps. Because guess what? If you die, you lose your scraps, and if you want it back, you have to go to wherever you died and pick it up again. Scrap is used to build armor and upgrade your weapons, but it's also used to upgrade your core power, aka your suit. Not the armor protecting your suit, the core power, the power of your suit. Everything takes up power from your suit. Whatever you are wielding, whatever weapon you are holding, whatever armor you have on, that consumes core power from your suit. So let's say, for example, you have a level 6 suit. You want to be covered, so you equip everything. You equip all the armor that only costs 1. So, you cover both legs, 1. Cover both arms, 1. You cover your body, 1. You cover your head, 1. That all equals 6. But let's say you find another piece of armor or even another set of armor that you want to equip, except the power they need is now doubled. So let's just say, okay, so it's now 2 for your legs, so that equals 4, 2 for your arms, 2, 4, and now it's 2 for your chest, and now it's 2 for your head. Now your suit has to be level 12 to be able to use that set of armor. There's also abilities that come in the form of chips that you install. These chips can be injectables, they give you more health if you need it in the middle of a fight, or it could be a stat boost, one that gives you more stamina, one that makes you more fast. Whatever those injectables are, whatever those chips are, those upgrades, they also take up core power from your exosuit. So whether it be a cool ability or it be better armor, sometimes you'll have to decide between upgrading your armor or your suit's level. Now, let's say that you're comfortable with the armor that you're wearing and you don't need to level up your suit. Well, there are certain areas in the game and several switches that can't be used unless you're a certain level, and those areas or switches can often reveal shortcuts or even give you more valuable equipment, but you need a higher core power. So you're behooved to constantly upgrade and constantly progress, and I like that. I like that everything I did was moving towards another bigger goal. I apologize if my little explanation there was a little confusing, but let's just say that everything you pick up can be used to upgrade yourself, your armor, or your weapons. That's basically it. And in the game, it makes a lot more sense than my shitty English. The controls were super easy to get used to. It took me about an hour to memorize just about everything and use it all properly. And it all felt good. The sound and the visuals were great, but also considering how easy it was to play the game, it all culminated into this great feeling of playing as a man in an exosuit. I will say that the ending part of the game was infuriating. However, because it was this random difficulty spike that totally caught me off guard. Here's when you're fighting new enemies, it takes a while to get used to because they will move and attack differently from the last bunch you were fighting against. To be really effective in this game, you have to really study your enemies' movements, their attacks, their windups, etc. In the last area, there was these last two enemies. They were super hard to just read because they were like these crystallized randomizing enemies. So they not only did a lot of damage, so you couldn't take a hit to see what they were doing, but also their bodies were constantly shifting, so it was hard to make anything out. The designs were far from lazy, but let's just say they made me really butthurt. The game isn't too long, having finished it in a couple days, and once you beat it, there is New Game Plus, which allows you to play the game with harder enemies, and in Plus, you also get to keep your upgraded equipment. So, there is also replayability. Anyways, the Surge is all around a fun game, and this is about a game everyone calls Dark Souls clone, from a guy who doesn't like Dark Souls. The story is almost non-existent half the time, but the writing is there, I guess. The characters aren't memorable, but I didn't expect them to be in a game focused on gameplay. The themes aren't worth playing the game for, with it being a pretty generic theme of man versus machine versus nature. However, the game looks gorgeous. The audio, minus the voice acting, is brilliant, being able to hear the movements of your own exosuit, and the controls are great. Gameplay is where this game shines, and boy does it shine ever so brightly. The level design, the constant changing of enemies, and the upgrade system all give you more reason to fight and explore, and rarely ever give you a chance to say, I'm bored. Deck 13 may have taken the core, the soul of the Dark Souls series, but they really made it into their own, and they did well, and for that, I think it deserves to be applauded. I bought the Surge at a GameStop summer sale, and with my friend's $5 coupon, I got it for about $40, and I think that's a great price for this game. If you like the Dark Souls genre, then maybe give this game a try. I say it sort of questioningly because besides the need for patience and precision, I don't know if this is something that would attract a Dark Souls fan. If you're new to the genre like I am, if you like the idea of exosuits and sci-fi, if you like the mere idea of being patient and being rewarded for your skill, then I definitely can recommend this game to you. That being said, for me, the Surge gets an 8 out of 10.
Reconnaissance units as per procedure, but we lost contact with them shortly after insertion. Strike team is moving in now. What the? Captain? Captain! I want another team in there right now.